Okay, so from the last video, we described how to switch the dynamic mode and change the color scheme to match what is happened in to better describe the dynamic simulation mode in HYSYS. So I know the newer version of HYSYS, when you switch the dynamic mode, it will automatically fix several things for you instead of have to do it manually, described in a handout. So as you see on the page 15 of handout, it will describe how to disable one of the active controls and then get rid of the red, which you don't see in our window. That's because the software already detect that issue and fix it for us. That's why we had that pop-up window come up that we need to accept some changes. So we can verify that by double-click on the feed stream, and you can see that the pressure is active but mass flow is not. Which that's exactly what the handout asks us to do. And then we will do the same thing with the the vapor valve, which it's a vapor outlet, and then you active the pressure but not active the molar flow, and then do the same thing with the liquid outlet, as you can see there. And then so that will allow us to set up our dynamic simulation. So before we actually start simulating the dynamics, we need to actually set up the feed flow controller and also the level controller and all those PID controller things. So in order to do that, we will bring up the palette from here, or if you minimize, you can bring up from your menu, and then you will see under the dynamics there is a PID controller, which that's what we are going to use. So we set up the PID controller here, and then we will need 3 of them, so you can put in like on the corresponding spots. And then you will open up the PID controller window, double click it, and then similarly with naming the stream, you can give it a name which you can call feed flow control, and then under the select PV, you can actually say you want a drum feed that will be the outlet stream from the valve, and then you want to do a mass flow. Okay, and then you click OK, and that will be our PV, which is the input variable, input signal into our PID controller. And then we need to have a output signal going to the valve, because we need to control the valve using the input signal from the outlet stream. So you do that by selecting the operating variable, and then you you click on the mean and the feed valve, and then that will be your actuator desired position, and that's what you want to control. That you want the controller to control. So you click on OK, and then it will says unknown ranges for PV, which you need to set it up under the parameters tab, and then you will specify a range for the PV maximum and PV minimum, and usually the number will be 0, and then to the double the normal operating value. So like our steady state is 18,000 kilograms per hour. So by double that, we will use a heuristic number of 36,000, and then that will be our PV maximum number, and then that will be it says OK in the bottom. So that finishes up the feed flow controller, and then we will close this off, and then we'll do the similar thing with our flow controller for the vapor valve, and then the controller for the liquid valve. And then I was just going to skip the part, and then let you set it up yourself, and then I will going to show you what the result will be. You can just follow the detailed steps and the parameters provided in the handout, which is pretty straightforward. And I will show you what happens after you set it all up. Wait, so one quick thing is that you are allowed, just as I said before, you are allowed to do some cosmic fixes so that your graph appear to be nicer. For example, you can actually do this flip vertical on this top menu, which allow you to, instead of this line crisscrossing each other, you can actually make it looks much nicer. And then you can actually by going to the format tab, you can actually change the font size, and then change the font, and if you want to bold it or not bold it. And also you can also right click it, and then says move size label. You can actually change where you want this label to be. Say if you want to move this label to the top, come on. Yeah, if you want to move to the top, you can just simply right click it and then drag it up. So right click it, move size label, and then drag it. So that would just help you to make some cosmic changes, so it will appear much nicer in your final flow diagram. And then okay, so after finish setting up the PID controllers, you should be able to see 3 PID controllers in your flow sheet. So we just verify our input variables, and then you can check with your own system. So we have the drum feed and the feed well position in our feed flow controller. And then in our drum pressure controller, under the connection tab, we will have the flash drum vessel pressure as our PV, and then the vapor valve actuator position as your operating target variable object. And then in our drum level control, we will have the PV as our flash drum liquid level, and then the operating variable output target object will be our liquid valve and the actuator desired position. So and also you need to set up the parameters as listed as using the values provided on page 20, which you can just input them under the parameters tab here. So and then we can also bring up the faceplates to input the values to operate the controllers. So in order to do that, you go into the Dynamics tab on the top, and then you can see the faceplates here. So that will bring up a window, and then you can just click the open. That will give you the faceplates for the feed controller. Do the same thing for the drum level controller, and then also do the same thing for the drum pressure controller. Now we have the 3 faceplates that later we will use this to change our values to operating our controllers, so then we can run the simulations from there. So for now, we can just minimize these windows since we don't need it right now. And then the next step is adding the strip chart displays so we can see our dynamic data. In order to do that, we will click on the strip charts on the left simulation menu. Initially, you wouldn't have anything in this window. I have something. That's because I already set it up. So initially, you will just click on Add button, and then the default name will be Data Logger 1. You can change this strip chart name to whatever you want. And for example, if I want Feed Flow Control 2, and then I can set up like that, and then I can click on the Edit button, and then that will allow you to specify what variables you want. And then you click on Add, and then the variable navigator pops up. So for our feed controller, we using case mean feed controller, and then we use our PV in this list. And then similarly, we will just add feed flow control operating parameter OP, and then we also need to add a PV SP variable. And I know there's 2 SPs, and for me, I don't see any difference. I tried both, so you can usually I just pick the top one, and then click on OK, and then that will allow you to set up the feed flow control, and then you can just close off this window, and then so do the same thing for the drum level control, which involving the OP, PV, and SP, and then the drum pressure control, which is the same 3 variables, and then the liquid outlet, which you will have the master component mole fraction for the 3 compounds. So in order to do that, you go into similarly you go into this variable navigator, and then click on liquid outlet or vapor outlet, depending on which one are you doing, and then you use this master component mole fraction listing, and then you will just create 3 for the 3 compounds you have. And then after doing that, you should have the liquid outlet and the vapor outlet having the similar things. And then you will just be done. There is 5 things that you need to add in the strip chart manual. So in order to see your strip chart is fairly straightforward. You just click on the strip chart you want to see, and you click on display button, and then that will pop up the window saying this will be your data, and then your x-axis will be in minutes, which that will be how long your simulation has run, and then this will be your value of your variable. So there is some cosmic thing you may have to do in the beginning under the graph control, which is important to take off the background, because by default it will just give you a black background. So you right click it, select graph control, and then you just disable the visible selection under the background, which that will just allow you to now have a black background in this window. And similarly, we can bring up the rest of the selections, the drum level control. Come on. And you can just drum level control and the drum pressure control, liquid outlet, vapor outlet. Yep, and then that's all the 5 strip charts you will have to see your data. So after this, you are done with setting up your dynamics. So now you just need to put in your parameters to run the simulation from this point. So I will show you how to do that in the next video tutorial.